sweetness. It was nice and warm yesterday. Well, actually, it wasn't nice and warm yesterday. It was warm out at Rocky, and then when I got back to Red Deer, it kind of chilled off a little bit. I was like, something is coming. And then, of course, once I got home, it started to flurry, and that turned into a kind of a heavy flurry, if you want to call it that. And then it was, of course, it was kind of melty. And then when that happens, it cools off overnight. You wake up in the morning, you got fog, which I should be used to by now, because this is how Alberta rolls. It's always like, oh, I had heavy dense ice fog, I'm late. Not that I was ever. I've had heavy dense ice fog and tried to get to locations and been like, oh, and then run into other people that are driving like super slow. Of course, morning sunrise, when it's just like this, it's probably the worst. Like, at least at nighttime you can see taillights or headlights, and then when it's daybreak or middle of the day is probably the toughest, when you have dense ice fog. This isn't too bad, but we can get it pretty heavy, and it builds up on the air cleaners. And then next thing, I never had this for a while, but N14 days, it used to build up on the air cleaner screens, and then all of a sudden it would just be whistling when I accelerated. I was like, what is that sound? The first time I ever had it, I'm like, well, it's ice fog. I must have definitely, it's building up on the air cleaners just to the point that it makes it whistles in the holes. I don't know. That was my technical guess. So back out today to the same area as last time to do more. Probably gonna, depending on a rental buddy's coming to get his own mats, and we'll have mats to haul to Raven's yard by God damn it, what's that place called? Just slide right into somebody, bam! And then we got 2 400s to come back to Evergreen. So that's all that's happening today, nothing major. But like always, in usual fashion, I'm taking this opportunity to make footage, because I never know when I might run out. Now that it's springtime, the jobs could be hit and miss. And also on top of that is it's rail season starting up too, so. And actually he's already like, you want to go to Winnipeg on next week? I'm like, oh, Winnipeg? It's got to be the most boring drive. But I'm like, well, if I stay here, then I could be faced with more mud and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh. Because he asked me yesterday, he's like, when I was done, do you want to go to Swan Hills and get some mats for total and take it back down to that Didsbury lease? And I'm like, and it was time constraints. So he's like, be out there for 10 p.m. tonight. And I was like, oh, this guy needs to put air in his tires. I can see the duals are almost touching on the bottom. And I'm like, no, I don't really want to go. I'll go if you need me to, but I'm like, dude, I'm pretty bagged. And to go work tonight, like, I know obviously it's kind of a waste of fuck around time, because you go out there, you start at 10, day change at midnight, so you're not getting any overtime out of it. And then I'm too bagged, I would have had to go to sleep, and I'm waking up halfway through the day to drive home. I kind of hate doing that. I'd probably just drive home. I'd just be like, screw it, I'm going all the way home, but then I'm home for, then I'd have to go all the way down to Didsbury, then home. But anyways, enough chit chat. We'll go in, fire up. Truck's in the shop. What did I have to get a pull the light? The light was dim the other day. I was like, oh, it's all of a sudden there's something wrong with this light. Some form of wiring issue. So mechanic pulled it off, and it's one of those 3-prong plugs, and one prong was completely greened and broke off because it was dim. And then yesterday it was like pretty much nothing. So he's like, yeah, I got this fixed for you. We put on a new pigtail, done. I greased the truck, told you already, we got a new brake pot on the fifth wheel slide. Wrap the electrical cord again. I'm like, dude, this cord, it's like tattered and beat. It's like starting to look like the rest of Frank. And he's like, oh no way, you ordered cord and it's not in yet. mathematical equation here either, but that was pretty good. Usually I fail. I usually just miss. Put it right in front, I'll spool out, back up, come out here and be like, ah, fuck.
Einstein.
Uma ameaça foi detectada. Uma ameaça foi detectada.